Hello gorgeous ones, Dr. Lucy here. I am a little bit late today. I'm just going to reach forward and fix up my camera because it's totally... We would come back from holidays. There we go. Hello lovelies. Now, if you saw my Facebook Live on Monday, I was talking about having fun. We need a little bit more fun in our lives, and especially because Melbourne's a little bit cold and a little bit dreary. Hey Jody, how are you lovelies? So how hilarious is this little filter? And it does these amazing things like put sparkles and put these ears that move with my head like they're actually real. So I just wanted to sort of get in and say, you know what? Part of living is having fun. So today's been a tiny bit of a rubbish day. You know when you have those days, and some of you will have watched, I did a blog post, and if you want to go onto our website and have a look at it, and it's called I Hope You Have a Terrible Day. And the blog post was about a discussion I had with my then 16, maybe 17-year-old daughter who was pushing back on boundaries. Anyway, that particular version of the child has returned today, and she, you know when kids just push the buttons? Anyway, she's pushing my buttons, so she's just got a job. I remember getting my first job. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. I just thought, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm going to be earning my own money. I'm sorry. I'm so excited to have my own money, my own independence. Is going to be great. Do you think my kid does that? No. She goes, I've only been there 3 days. I'm already working too much. This isn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign up to be working this hard. I'm going, darling, don't you think it'd be nice? You know, you've got your own money. This is a great opportunity. It's school holidays. Yeah, well, I don't want to work my whole life, do I? I'm just going to go. So I drove her to work, and she slammed the door and says, have a good afternoon. And in my head, I'm thinking, how very dare you? How very dare you? Because, you know, I've given you everything, and you are just taking everything for granted. And and in my head, I'm going, you've spoiled her. That's the problem. She hasn't had to work a day in her life. And she's super, super hard to like her right now. Really hard. But she's 17. No, Heather, I'm late. I'm late because I've had just one of those days that makes you feel like, why did I get up today? So I was just talking about part of the reason I'm late is that I'm processing the little discussion in my head with my fairly entitled 17-year-old who she's in year 12. She has a job, and most people would be so excited, especially when I know out there in the world there is people who have had COVID problems, restrictions, lost their business, desperate for money, and here's my kid who goes, I don't really want to work that much, no, I just want to pick and choose because, my whole life's just about having fun. Anyway, so peeps, we all have days where life is a tiny bit rubbish, and in my head I'm thinking, God, I don't want to do the cooking show, I haven't got any cook, I haven't thought about what I'm cooking, and honestly, I haven't really thought about what I'm cooking, but I did my usual trick, go to the pantry. My pantry is never bare. Every now and then it's a tiny bit low. There was only one thing left in the protein department. Well, there was eggs, of course, because there is always eggs. And now there is also salmon. Now, I know that not everybody here likes fish, and that's fine. You can do this dish with chicken if you don't want to do it with fish. And honestly, what it is, it's a fling together very quick. I've even called it fish pie. Now, in my youth, I hated fish pie, but I actually think it was probably just not very nice. Sorry, Mum. So today what we're going to do is, I'm just turning on my heating contraption over here, and the other great news, woohoo, my NBN is back on. Yay, so no more frozen, which is why I can do my very fun, haha, bunny ears, no more frozen internet wheel of death. So because I am tired, I've actually got do you ever feel this? I feel a tiny bit guilty. I have got a fridge full of good fresh vegetables, and in my head what I'm going to do is cook them up tomorrow, because tomorrow's my non-clinical day. I've got a little bit more time, and tonight I'm tired because just had emotional overlays with my darling. So wow, so it's raining from the campground. Kerry's on camping. Wow, wonderful, wonderful. And freezing, Lynn's freezing. So this is a beautiful warming dish. It's called, as I said, it's a fish pie. You can call it chicken pie if you want to. It'll take less than 20 minutes to put together because of the usual hacks that I do. By now you're all getting pretty good at it. So I'll just grab a knife. So with my knife, obviously I'm just chopping off a hunk of butter. So it's quite a knob. Knob, one of my favourite words. Hello Donna, I can see you hiding in there. I'm like this Helene, there's no hiding. So just putting a big knob, so it's quite a big knob. I don't know what that is, 25 grams. Big knob of butter into my fry pan. I'm just gonna let that fry off. I'm going to do frozen onions. Frozen onions. I've got a thing of cream. It's quite good because this cream needs to be used. I've got frozen winter vegetables. Now these are largely, this is collie, broccoli, some green beans, and it's got carrot. Now I know that the keto aficionados don't eat carrot, and often I don't either. Hi Jan, how are you darling? But tonight, it's frozen carrot and it's okay. Hey Bev. So what it means, again, you know, I'm not sitting down having carrot soup. If you had carrot soup, that's probably a big pile of carbs, say with pumpkin soup. You can have small amounts of carrot from time to time and it's okay, the world's not gonna die. Someone's screen's not working, mine is. Oh, mine. Of course it is, I'm just watching myself here. But I can see you guys, which is amazing. So I'm just flinging in a bit of those frozen oniony things. Now, the good thing so basically fish pie, I'm just going to put in these salmon fillets and I'll chop them, they'll break up as they cook. As you know, I do like to sort of poach things a bit. So, butter going in, I'll let the onions, did you hear that noise? That was the cat who's trying to get in. Yes, Melissa, I'm saying it's fun week. I'm trying to do fun stuff. I want to make life fun because I had a tiny bit of a shit day today. And rather than going to my big block of chocolate that I don't own anymore, I thought I'll go to my bunny ears because that's much more fun. And I think being fun, well, it is sort of fun, isn't it? You know, and I think sometimes we all take ourselves too seriously. And every now and then, you've got to check yourself, and I have to do it a lot. You know, isn't my default, not my default, but every now and then my inner just snap comes out, my snapdragon. In fact, Bron, I snuck in, I did, Bron. I was a bit late and I was just saying I had a tiny bit of a rubbish day. And my husband, I mean, God, he's a good man, but he used to call me Snapdragon when I was a bit So I've done quite a lot of mindfulness, finding the pause, trying to be less reactive, but every now and then it just comes out as reactive. And that's not fun. So I thought, all right, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a reactive Nancy Pansy. So I'm going to be a bit fun, have some of these. So yeah, frozen onions, they've just cooked down. I'm flinging in the whole tub of cream, only because it needs to be used up and it's there, so why not use it? If you had half a tub of cream, you could probably just do that as well. So this is 300 mils. As you know, I like this brand. Every state has a different brand, but this is an Australian made and literally one ingredient, just cream. And what I'm doing here is that on the side of it, quite often the fat of the cream gets stuck to the side. So I always just go in and scrape that off because I don't want low fat cream. So I've got some interesting things that I wanted to talk about today. And I know it's normally I talk more conversational, but today I thought I'd talk about a bit about some science stuff. So one of the things that I know people wonder about is cholesterol. And of course, you know, as I just fling in a whole tub of cream and bang on about how I want the fat bit of the cream and all of that jazz. So I'm going to tell you what I've over the years of doing this, I've narrowed it down to what I'm happy to do and how to manage cardiac disease or patients I see and what I think is the right thing to do with their cholesterol stuff. because it's not actually what my guidelines would show. So our medical guidelines are still very much statin if your cholesterol is over X, and it's usually if it's over 7, then that indicates that you should be on a statin. Now, the evidence doesn't actually support that, and what Mary and I like to do is just do a few extra tests to decide. So the interesting thing, right, I saw a person today, and this person is plant-based, and again, I love low carb. It is my heart and soul, but I also recognise that it's not everyone. So for me, I will look at what I think is the best for their health. So Mary and I often talk about, if you're metabolically flexible, if you don't have any issues with insulin, if you're very active like my husband, my kids, they can eat more carbs than me, sad face. But for me, eating lots of carbs increases my insulin, and the problem with increasing insulin is that it does fat storage, and it also means that your body's having to work hard, and I'm sick of making my body work hard. It's done a lot for me over the years. Lots of, unhealthy things in my 20s, lots of sleepless nights, way too much alcohol. I've put it through a fair bit. So I've put this 300 mils of cream in. I'm just bringing that up to a boil. And now I'm going to turn it down, and I'm just flinging in my favourite garlic and dill. You can put in whatever seasoning you like, but I just like that one. It goes really nicely with the salmon. I've put in a bit of a whack. There was a big ball of it. So I reckon I've put in about that much. It's probably, I'd say 2 tablespoons of it, because I really like flavour. And I'm just going to mix this in. My ball looks a bit like a dung beetle. I should have probably smashed that up before I put it in. Remember, the mingle stuff doesn't have any anti-caking agent, so it does often stick together, and you really just have to give it a bit of a bash up. That's fine. So I'll just stick this in. Now again, remember, if you don't want fish, you don't have to do fish. If you don't like salmon, you can do white fish if you prefer a white fish. If you want to put chicken in it, do it with chicken. Do it with whatever you like. Just pick a protein. So I'm just going to put the lid on for. So then, seriously, this is how easy it is. So I've got my protein in there. It's just going to poach, and then I've got my bag of frozen vegetables, and basically I'm just flinging them in. Okay, so they go in. Spread them around a bit. I'm going to put the lid on for a bit, because what I'm going to do, once that's cooked, once the salmon's cooked, I'm actually going to break it up a bit and spread it out. Now, a lot of you were asking the other day about thickening things. So, if you've made a soup and it's really runny, or you've made a curry and it's really runny, a couple of ideas. So this is just some xanthan gum. I don't know why I'm holding it up to you, because it's going to be back to front. You need the weeniest amount, like 1/4 of a teaspoon. If you put any more in, it just turns to like clag, glug, just yuck. You can use that. You can use, if you've got guar gum, you can do the same thing, just the tiniest a bit. Or you can use, sometimes what I will use, particularly for curries, is almond meal, or even mushed up cauliflower. Cauliflower, seriously, the great pretender. It can be like a thickening agent, it can be a pizza, it can be whatever you like. But yeah, that's why when I'm making my chicken soup that I make in either in the slow cooker or the pressure cooker, which has just got the chicken and the Philadelphia in it, it's I just add in a couple of bags of cauliflower. You don't even taste it, but it thickens it up. Yes, Kat uses cauliflower. Arrowroot sometimes, you can use arrowroot. It's a little higher in carbs than these other ones, but again, people get obsessed about the carb number, but you're not going to be, if you're making a big thing, like this is going to be big fish pie. I'm not eating all of it in one go, much as I might like to. I'm not going to. So I'm just going to let that do its magic while we yak, and then at the end, I'll see if it needs thickening. I'll add some salt, because I think I forgot to add salt. I might add that now. And then I'm just going to put some cheese on it. Now, I'm just actually... I know, this is not perfect cheese, okay, because it's got some cellulose in it. But honestly, my kids, they eat a lot of cheese. We go through a lot of cheese. I've just been in the fridge. There's 16 half-open bags of cheese. Does that happen in your house? Does it make you nuts? You know, different open bits of milk, open bits of cheese. We've got frozen berries. I think there's like 4 packets of the same thing, all opened, all falling out, all going everywhere. I'm just going to sprinkle a bit of salt on. So this is just the Murray River one I'm now in love with at the moment. So anyway, back to cholesterol. So lots of people have cholesterol over whatever the recommended number is. To make a decision about is this cholesterol harmful to you or not, you actually need a bit more information than just the number of the cholesterol. So what we like to do is I will often do a calcium score. So a calcium score has a look at whatever hardened plaques might be in your arteries already. So, you know, and again, depending on how old you are and what your life was like before you started low carb, that may or may not be a problem. Now, if you've got no calcium, sweet, we've got so much time. People think that cholesterol clogs your arteries like fat down a drain. It doesn't. It takes years. It takes years. You can't just go from normal cholesterol and suddenly your cholesterol's 8 and you're going to bang clog them up. It doesn't work like that. It actually takes years. So what we want to do is go, okay, let's see what our baseline disease is. So if your calcium score 0, great. If your calcium score's between 0 and 100, then we're going, so you've got some plaque there. If it's over 100, and depending on your age, because that's another factor. So if you're young, if you're like 40, we would call that young, and you've got calcium in your arteries, then that's problematic because you're not meant to. Most 40-year-olds should have beautiful arteries. So again, you've got to take into effect what's going on. If you're old, like if you say 85, well, you're likely to have calcium in your arteries because you've lived all those years. So the number itself is not just the only important thing. So the thing with a calcium score, all it is, it's a test at a radiology clinic. It's a CT scan. It has a couple of disadvantages that you need to know about. It's not on Medicare. You have to pay for it. Medicare don't reimburse it, so it's about $200, give or take. And you can't have them all the time. I had another patient in today who wanted one in 6 months' time, and I just said, listen, first of all, it doesn't work like that. Calcium takes a long time to build up, so 6 months, they're not going to see any change. And the other thing is that when you're having it, there is a little bit of radiation. So again, we've got to be mindful of the other organs that are around there. You don't want to be radiating your lungs and your breasts if you're a woman all the time. So like everything, it's all about weighing up a risk. But then one of my favorite tests of all time is this test called LDL subfraction. So that's looking at your cholesterol, and then the LDL, you know, which is the so-called bad cholesterol, we can actually break it down. There's 7 types of LDL. So the first 2 are what is called the big fluffies, which is very happy, sort of big rabbity ones. They are really harmless. They don't cause any increased effect on your cardiovascular risk. Down lower are the small dents, and they're problematic. So they're the ones that we don't really want to have. So this is the thing, right? So I saw this patient today, and they are plant-based. So they don't eat any saturated fats. Anyways, cholesterol up a little bit, did some subtraction, and the LDL, he's got small dents. So he doesn't have big fluffies. So even though he doesn't eat any meat, anything, small dents. So this idea that all this butter, all this cream, this man doesn't do any of that, but he's still got small dents. So I think we need to be really mindful when we're talking about, you know, does saturated fat, is it bad for you? All of those things. The answer is we don't actually know yet. I'm just going to give this little stir. I'm not giving it a stir, it looks good. So again, if you want to know, if you want more information, the two tests that you need to do are a LDL subfraction and a calcium score. Now, sadly, neither of these are actually on the PBS. And at this stage, I don't think they're coming onto the PBS. It would be nice because it would actually save the government and the public bazillions, because we would not then be giving statins to people with lovely big fluffy LDLs, even if their cholesterol's 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I've got a lady whose cholesterol's 10. She's 60. She's got beautiful arteries, 0 calcium score, and big fluffies. She doesn't need a statin. So that's, I guess, the little bit of medical stuff for tonight. Normally, as you know, I am doing a bit more on the whole mindset, my favourite thing. Although I did do a little bit at the start talking about my crazy teenager. Have you all? I mean, everyone's got teenagers at some stage. If you're past teenagehood, wonderful. If you're not, so and my two are quite different. My first one probably not quite as button pushing in some ways, but anyway, they are all different. And I'm sure what I need to do is turn up my pot, because I didn't realise it was just on simmer, so that's down too low now. So what will happen with this little baby is, as I said, I'm going to pull it off in a minute. I'll break up the salmon once it's all cooked. Then I'll put a little bit of this in if I need to. If I don't need to, I'm just going to top it with a bit of mixture of one of these two. Bang it in the oven, and suddenly I've got fish pie. Or, as I said, if you wanted to have it with chicken, you have chicken pie. Oh my, every time I turn my face, my ears disappear. Have you noticed that? So I'm just looking over here. So the other thing that has come up just while this is cooking, and I've seen a few people talking about it, and we've just finished the last module that the 12-weekers are going through was on emotional eating. Okay, it's a really, really complex thing. And did you all, hopefully you've had a chance, you may not have had a chance yet, just watch my presentation I did for Low Carb Down Under. I feel so lucky. So I think it's had like nearly 20,000 views, and people are writing some really lovely comments, and there's always a few people that like to write rubbish comments and blah, blah, blah. But one of the interesting things that I think about a lot is there's a quote, and the quote was originally from Teddy Roosevelt. Now it's been sort of reinvigorated by Brené Brown, and it talks about the man in the ring, or the man in the arena. And I don't know it word for word because it's one of those sort of, pivotal speeches. But basically it talks about that the person who's in the arena, so the person who's actually doing the stuff, is the person that is, they're brave, they're putting themselves out there, they're giving information, and the credit goes to them, not the people in the cheap seats who are just hurling comments. And I think that that's a really wonderful thing for life, because as a nation, Australians, and probably, I know actually I've got some people from the States watching now, so I think maybe Western culture, we are very good at criticising, really good at just putting our point out there, and often criticising, even if the criticism is A, not valid, or B, unasked for. So I think that one of my things, and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I haven't put that video up, I'm going to do that, you just reminded me, snake eat snake world. So, we spend so much time judging other people, and quite often we do this because we think it makes us feel better. And this word self-esteem that we're talking about a lot, people's self-esteem is often gathered by how they feel. It's almost like a ranking system. So where am I in this world? And if you're average, well, that seems a bit boring and exciting. So you've got to be above average. So the only way to be above average is to make sure there are more people below you. And the only way we can do that is by criticizing. And the problem is that that thought pattern becomes habitual. So we criticize other people and we also criticize ourselves. So we're constantly judging, and it's just really, really toxic. And again, not always our fault. Remember, who's actually leading the way in this concept? Television. People are thriving on, well, they're not thriving, networks are thriving, but people are glued to their television watching reality TV, which is all just basically the modern form of gladiators. It's just people pitted against each other, trying to vie for who is the best. And it's hard, so it's part of who we are as humans, but it's not the pretty side of us. We're better than that. So I just think, I'm not holier than thou. I've done it many times, been very, particularly in my younger days, very judgmental, very critical, very quick, snapdragon. And now I'm trying to do that thing where we go, okay, let's just take a step back, try and have some compassion. We don't know where people have come from, what path they're walking, what shoes they've been in, where they've come from and where they're going. We don't know any of that. So, well, this is good. So this is all cooked. So what I'm going to do, I'll show it to you. I'm just mushing up the salmon. As I said, you don't have to have salmon if you wanted to have chicken or shush. You can have that. I don't want to mush it up too much because it'll be like salmon chunks in it. But as I said, oh God, there was a whole bit of salmon that was not at all chopped, it just sort of flung. Now what I'm going to do is just stir through, make sure all the salt, all those herbs are stirred through everywhere. And then I'm actually not going to put any thickener in it. The sauce I think is fine, and all I'm going to do, so I'll show it to you. Okay, so the sauce, I don't know if you can see that, it's a little bit runny, but there's actually not that much of it. So I don't think I need to worry too much about it. So now, all I do is whack on the cheese, bang it in the oven, and it's beautiful winter fish, or as I said, chicken if you want to do chicken pie, all ready with our beautiful favourite winter vegetables, lots of protein, a little bit of fat, following our formula of build a plate. I'm just going to put a bit of mozzarella on because I do like it when you pull out the cheese and it all goes and I'll just put that in the grill, under the grill for 10 minutes. I might wait till my hubby's home because then, so again, this is something you can make a bit earlier and just bang in the oven away from the cats and continue that. All right, darlings, we've had quite a chat, haven't we? So we've talked about my crazy teenagers. We've talked about how to make fish pie in 20 minutes or chicken pie. We've talked about cholesterol, and we've talked about being kind. We know what, and snake eat snake world. So that's been fun. All right, darlings, I will see you next Tuesday. And keep warm if you're in cold land. If you're in warm land, well, don't get burnt. Stay hydrated, and I'll see you all soon. Bye, darlings.